G'day guys, Defiant from Defiant Mods. Thought I'd do a video on a new part that just arrived from Creality. They call it their Sprite Extruder SE, and basically it's it'd be the Sprite Pro's version, or I'd say it's a budget version of the extruder that comes on the Sprite Pro, or on the Sprite. So you'd just be getting the extruder part of it in this box, plus the equipment to mount it, in this case onto an Ender, onto an Ender 3. In this case it's going to go onto an Ender 3 V2 that I've recently just built. Yeah, 50 bucks on Amazon, delivered to your door the next day. Seems like pretty good value. Well, you know, seems as being the operative word, but let's take a look at it, eh? So you're seeing it as I'm seeing it for the first time, and looks like they're going to give you a little booklet, tell you how to put it all together. Looks pretty simple. Hopefully there's E-steps and stuff like that. Yeah, there's your E-steps. So if you're going to do it manually, you can change it, or you can just go into the settings and change your E-step value, 424.9, and then you could probably do a calibration after that if you so wish to. They're showing you how easy it bolts onto your stock Ender carriage, your stock Ender 3 carriage, as shown there. I won't be running that, of course, but we'll have a look at it. So you get your little mounting bracket. So that's your little adapter mounting bracket. That's metal. It's good to know. I'd imagine in time there's going to be people releasing 3D printed brackets for other applications. You know, if you want to try and graft it onto, say, a CR10 or something a bit different. But that all looks like it's going to work pretty easy. That's handy. Bit of Capricorn tubing. Obviously we won't be running it like that, and hopefully we won't need to use that much. Maybe, you know, probably about that much, hopefully. That's your excess cabling, so you can run your extensions, so you can run it. In the case of this one here, this one's still running the stock extruder, so you'll need an extension cable to get it from your stock extruder up to your new head area. And there's a unit itself. Not the lightest thing I've ever picked up. That's obviously plastic now, not metal like on the Pro. Pancake style stepper, not the smallest stepper motor you're ever going to play with, but you know, not too bad. It still probably isn't going to get anywhere near the weight, all in all. So if you're running a micro Swiss, the older micro Swiss, not the NG style but the older style micro Swiss, it's just purely because of these monster motors that are on the back of it, and that's because there's no reduction in the gear drive. You're just running a 1-to-1 gear, so I doubt a little motor like this would cop that for very long. It might cop it for a while, but these little motors are designed to run a little bit higher with not so much load on them. But yeah, basically that looks just like a Pro version, just a budget Pro version. Of course that's a metal body on this one, but yeah, I'd be almost inclined to pop it open for you and have a little look inside, just to see what's going on in there. Looks like a couple of bolts that'll pop off. Maybe undo that for your extruder feeder. And then the beauty about these are they're designed to bolt directly onto a standard Ender carriage and feed whatever hot end you want to run. And in the case of this one, I've got a Creality Spider hot end on this. but whatever one you can adapt or run onto this technically should be able to feed. So as you can see, that'll be your mounting bracket. We go either on the front or on the back. I should have a look at that. And then they'll give you some shorter shims to account for the thickness, so that tells me that is going on the back probably. And have a couple of shorter shims, and then that, once that bolts onto there like that, actually I think maybe that way, that makes more sense. Then that's going to bolt onto there like that and feed directly down into your hot end. So yeah, there's your run, which would, you know, be about what you'd see, say, on a micro Swiss or anything else similar. It's not going to have a shorter feed path as on the Pro, on a Sprite Pro, because that's about as short as you're going to get. But I don't see too much of a problem. You're shortening your feed path by a heck of a lot to get it onto that. But that's not a bad, tidy looking little setup. And the beauty about this setup is that you can then run aftermarket coolers. So if you've got a little aftermarket cooler you want to run, this is obviously not going to run that hot end. That's for a Dragon hot end. But if you make a rear like I have on this one, you can then run these styles of coolers, which will clear that. Will definitely clear that. And that would just be, yeah, that's actually a nice little combination, I reckon. So you could have a nice direct drive hot end with a Voron style cooler if you so wish to, running on an ender with minimal fuss, and for $60. So I don't see that. As long as these are well built inside and they hold up all right, they should be a good little system. Let's have a look inside, eh? Yeah. How good are my eyes? Yeah, let's remove that one first. So obviously that's just a little guide. It looks like you can run a bit of tubing into that as well if you want, a bit of the Capricorn tubing, or plug into that. You can come up a little bit higher, sorry for going off camera. Yeah, look at that. So if you want to run a bit of Capricorn or run a reverse feed Bowden for any reason, you can. See, it's not too heavy. I'd have to say that together they definitely are a hell of a lot lighter than that. A hell of a lot lighter. Just the weight in the motor there. I mean, you could possibly run a smaller motor, but you know, with the 1-to-1 gearing, you're probably better off sticking with something like what's on there. I hope this doesn't have all springs and crap in there and all comes flying apart. And that'll be the end of this. That'll be the end of this video. We'll be moving on to. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice, nice, very nice. So we've got a little brass feeder in there, little bearing, rather than a bushing, which is good to see. Good to see that. And there's your path as it comes down through. That's your gap where it picks up onto the two dual gear drives. So they're pretty chunky. They're cast gears. Definitely cast gears. And I don't know if that's an illusion or if just the load, the pressure of the spring's doing that. I'd say that's the pressure of the spring, but it looks like they're coming out on a slight angle, and I don't think that's the way it's supposed to be. I think that's just the spring, but if it is, it's not a bad idea. And you can see that they don't, yeah, the alignment isn't 100%, but you know, it's not all bolted down and pushed together, and it's not the world's greatest. I mean, That scares the shit out of me, that big blob of goop right there, because that's right in the filament path. That needs to be cleaned up. That should not be like that, Creality. Put it over on the gears. I don't know why it has to be anywhere near the filament path, but that all looks kind of like a nice little action. It disengages nicely. And they're only cast gears, they're not machined gears. I'm pretty sure they're not proper machined gears. Definitely only cast. I can actually see tiny little pits in those teeth. But you know, you're paying 60 bucks, so you're not getting the world's greatest. But you know, it's dual gear drive. I would have thought that they could have been curved, those gears, but look, you know, the proof will be in the pudding. We'll put it in, we'll do a couple of test prints and see how they print. But you know, if you've got this stepper, one of these little pancake style steppers hanging around, and there's the model of it, which I think I do. I think I've got a bunch of these little steppers floating around from other projects. You could you know, potentially, you know, this should only be worth 20 bucks, this little extruder set up here. But it's an easy solution. Like I say, it's a bolt-on and go product. Set your E-steps, plug in your little extension lead that they give you. Don't know why they give you two. Maybe different wiring combinations. I'll have to look into that. They both have E on them, so maybe just slightly different wiring combinations. Who knows? But there it is, guys. Again, another look inside there. So that will come down between the two gears and pick up the filament, and that'll be it. And that's your tensioning bolt down there through the side. Looks easy enough to do. So you don't have a dial per se. You're going to have to use your hex wrench to do it, or your little one of these if you've got one. It's not the smoothest action I've ever seen, but it does the job, and that does get pretty bloody tight. Geez, that's plastic too, so I reckon that's going to be its weak point at some stage. Definitely that. You know, there's your weak point there. Probably through the back there. So you know, I'd much rather have seen this. Much like on the Pros, on the Sprite Pros, the whole thing's metal. It's a much better setup, that over there. But you know, for 60 bucks, this is a bolt-on. Only time will tell. I'd be very surprised if I opened up that Sprite Pro and it had straight cut gears like that. Very, very surprised actually. In fact, I'll loosen this off, which might help me. That's it. That's as far as it'll loosen off. Might help me get that back on. But before I go any further, I'm going to clean all that goop off there. It looks as though they've almost just tried to possibly. Yeah, I don't know. That's haphazard. You know, that's very haphazard. I don't see why I need to lube my filament up before I print with it. So look, if you get one of these guys, open it up and just check that, because if that's a thing, it's not a thing you want to have to deal with. Pumping that for your hot end on your first print. Nice to have your hot end all nice and lubed up, but not to that degree. But there it is, guys. That's your Sprite SE, is it? Sprite Extruder SE. And this one doesn't say anything about a Ender 3. Just 5 and plus 10. So yeah, maybe it will work on that. Sprite Extruder kit. There it is. Bought off Amazon. I think 60 bucks, 50 something bucks, 50, 60 bucks. You get some freebies. You don't already have 20,000 of those. But yeah, I suppose that the beauty about it too is if you want to keep things lightweight and you can go an ultra lightweight hot end cooler. You go something like that. Next, that starts, I mean, that's as light as they get. That's so light. And these do come with 5010 fan support as well, and then just whatever one you want to bung on the front there to cool the heat sink. But yeah, you could go something like that if you want. Keep it ultra lightweight, but for myself, I'll be running it with a Voron style setup, as you can see there now. That's the setup, and as you can see, there's going to be plenty of room at the back here to run around the back there, get it on the back. I have dealt with the Pro. I've got a couple of other different styles as well, but I think for the money, and I think for the easeability, and the fact that it comes as a kit, you bolt it on, you set your E-steps, and you're good to print with it. It's a direct drive. I think it's a good little deal. Like I say, as long as the plastic holds up, as long as that doesn't become a weak point, I wouldn't like to, you know, once that snaps, all the things I mean, I've just got to say it, it's fucked once that breaks. But I don't know if you'd be getting a replacement for that too easy. But that pops off. I'll have to stuff around to get that back. Oh, there you go. Goes back on pretty easy actually. Yeah, well, there you go. And I imagine there'll be mods down the track where you can add on your own fidget turners if you want, your adjusters. Obviously you got your 4 spots here if you want to run a cooler off here, or some duct cooling or something like that. But I think that bolted onto the back of that will work quite nice, and as long as it's got the clearance to miss the uprights, which I think it will, I think we're onto a good thing there with Mr. Sprite SE. So there you go, guys. I'll leave it at that, and I'll probably post up some pictures once I get it back on, or a small video once it's back on, and show some print quality, and just see if it's worth it. And then the proof will be in the pudding as to how long that little lever lasts. Because that, in my mind, is going to be the weak point. But anyway, guys, have a good one. Cheers.